Well, here we are back in the Mittenrahm, in the Brakenrahm. I'm obviously moving on. The project has been more accurately labelled now as the Battle of the Brakenrahm. It's what it always was. I'm just being a little bit more open about where this is going, although I kind of have hinted at it. This is Phase 2, obviously. Phase 1, struggling to load. Whoops. I think in the last video I was talking about a few bits and pieces. I have officially signed off on it. I think it's unlikely I will go ahead with the conversion of this to stone. I think it's virtually 0 chance that I will convert all 4 statues. I think it would look better for this one, but in hindsight, thinking about it, it's not a lot to convert to the stone. I don't think it will compensate for the large amount of color that's going on here now. I really ought to convert this back to the mud, but probably won't, so there you go. Anyway, not what I'm here to show you, but look at it. So anyway, Phase 2, obviously 2 parts. The end island, I always intended to start Phase 2 with the end island. I do have a half an idea about what becomes of the whole island. What I did have in mind is only going to work if I stop the Enderman spawning. Otherwise they're going to be pinching stuff. So I don't want to turn it off. Enderman mobs spawning, things happening in the world are part of what fuel some of the ideas, so getting rid of it doesn't really work for me. Obviously there are plenty of block options that don't involve things Enderman can steal. I may just go with that. But as far as the building is concerned, it's obviously quite a bit's been done. The story now being told by this part of the build is a little different from what I originally had in mind. I was working with this, getting ahead of myself. The idea was to give the pillars a more organic feel. This is like all of this is quite some time before the player would be in the world. So the end dragon is not here. However, there's a precursor to the end dragon. And I wanted a more organic setting that might be suggested as the birthplace of the end dragon at the least. Something that could be imagined to be worn away more in the future, the time period that the player is in. And they'll kind of work it in that direction. That's kind of still partly the point. The orange is just working on obsidian. In the end is a bit of an eye waterer. So I swapped to the wool so I could be more obvious what I was doing. It's obviously going to be removed. I think I will... I don't like using the fill command, but it seems to make more sense. Otherwise I'm just building it twice for no reason. Having said that, swapping the orange, if I had swapped the wool on these pillars using the fill command, I would have never have started doing this, which then is carried over in this partial redesign. This, as I get rid of the original concept of colour, that has to go. There's no, it doesn't matter how good it looks or whether it was working, it can't stay, so it's got to be converted to this. And you know, that still that was orange, that was additions, and altering it, you know, if I just, as I said, if I just used the fill command, it probably wouldn't even come around. So, you know, placing blocks is a kind of fuel for new ideas, for variations. So yeah, just blindly copying and pasting and using something like a fill command limits that creativity. So, it's not going too badly. It's been a bit of a fight. You'll have a see in a minute what I've actually, part of what I've been doing, but it's all about this pyramid. The original idea was an ordinary pyramid. As I started doing it with the 45-degree angle, which is not how a pyramid is built in the real world, not at that angle, I decided it was too small, which is why you've got these extensions making it taller. This is probably what it should have been. I've put this here to give myself an idea about how big it would have been if I'd have gone with a better design. There's some work that's been removed. The original design for the temple included encasing the pyramid in a variety of glass, at least 2 layers. That's had to be removed, partly because it makes no sense with all of the temple-like parts to it. Can't encase it anymore. This was put in part as well to see where, if I were to build a glass case in the shape of the pyramid that I perhaps more envisioned, marked by this line, to see how much of the temple would be covered, which is obviously most of it. I could change it, but I really hate doing things like that. It's like, there's nothing wrong with this. There's going to be a counterpart in the overworld. I know exactly where it's going to go. It's a piece of desert north of the main city that I have long looked at and thought I really ought to put something there, and pyramid being one of the options. There is a pyramid that was built by somebody else way back in the days when this was a server. It's quite some distance from here, literally kilometers away. And I filled it in inside, and I've often thought maybe it'd be a good idea to copy it over here. This feels like it ought to be in the overworld, and use something much simpler and more primitive looking. The original idea I had for the pyramid involved copying a design of a small paperweight style object that I actually own, but yeah, there's not much in it. It's not that important because the story is still maintained. This has been built long after this. This has been built here because of what happened here, including the destruction of whatever the end was, presumably another planet. The people who built this were up to no good, obviously. You know, just come here and build a black pyramid surrounded by this kind of nasty looking stuff when you're up to something decent. So I have some idea about what it was. I don't want to say too much. Don't want to give away too much yet. But that's kind of what's going on in my head. These are supposed to represent kind of mirrors, perhaps, to the elements. This is poison, fire, which obviously like a joint. Obviously, fire is also a positive element. I mean, maybe they represent negatives of the elements, the darker sides. I note this in the build itself in the Eastern. There are dragon statues hanging underneath here that have streaks representing the elements, suggesting that the void still contains some element of it, or vice versa. Kind of a yin-yang thing, where you got the dot of one makes the eye of the other. But yeah, you got like, this is like ice or death, entropy. This is rot or decay. As I said, that's poison, and then fire, but I don't know, what would it be? But you get the idea. Also need to think about it a little more, but it's the general concept, I suppose. Now, there has been more built. Because obviously the pillars extend underneath. They've been modified. I knocked off a couple of layers so that I can make them uneven, because we are at the build limit. Can't put anything else now. So yeah, I curved the pillars, putting some wall between them, connecting the various pillars, putting this kind of webbing. This is the final. Let's take a better look at it. This is the final concept. I think this is what I would have done from the beginning. I've kind of mixed it up now. Various stages of it. To show. I wanted a merger. I didn't want to build something that suggested the end island was gone. I wanted to show that the end island was still there within this, which, you know, I think this hasn't come out too bad. This was an accident. I had wanted to use the fill command to just simply replace the bottom two layers of endstone in order to do this concept all the way across. But as I was saying earlier, doing something like that would have never allowed me to fiddle from one section to the next, figuring out how to do this in a way that works. This doesn't work so well because I think it pokes out too much. This is another early one, the same problem. And this one is curved inwards, except for a few bits. And I think this is where I hit it, as I say. One of the last sections I did, obviously. So now if I really want to do something, I have to go back. A lot of the ones that are dark won't get anything done. It's not important to include this on all of them. But yeah. So... Yeah, maybe you can do with a little more. It's like, this is okay. I think maybe just a little bit in this one would be good. But that's what I've been doing, and obviously my intention is to die. That's my intention. Saw that coming.